Here we go. And it's recording. Okay, first question. What's your story? In other words, how did you fall down the rabbit hole of needing to transform yourself physically, emotionally, so you can either once again or for the first time in your life reach a true physical, emotional, or even spiritual potential?
You could literally take all of those and make a story out of them. But do we want to each start with like our current transformation?
Let's go back to the start to coaching, because that's going to be the person that we're going to be talking to.
Okay. Cool. So for me, it was hating my job, still wearing maternity clothes. I literally had only lost maybe 10 pounds of my baby weight at that point. So I think the fear of, you always hear if you don't lose your baby weight by 6 months, you're like more than likely never going to lose your baby weight. So that kind of fear was like, oh my God, like I don't want to be obese. Like my mom was obese. And then literally just not being in a place mentally where like I could handle it, you know? Just letting life run me instead of me running my life, and like not being happy with any part of it.
I would say you got an emotional and a physical right there. For me, I was living over in Duluth, and I was working a 12 to 10 schedule, and David was working a 7 to 4 schedule. I never saw him, and we were pretty much still newlyweds at that point. We had been married just around a year. It was living the life that I did not want to live. And I knew that we were going to have kids someday, and I did not want to raise a child without having my partner there with me. So that kind of started pushing me into the direction of wanting to find a different job. And shortly after I signed up as a coach, like literally 3 weeks later, we moved back to Marquette. Didn't know that. And I went back to my dream job, or what I thought was my dream job, at the gym, and very quickly realized from everything that I had learned from coaching and like, you know, spewing out your dreams and everything like that, that I was working for someone else's dreams and not mine. So I knew very quickly that this was going to be my jam.
Awesome sauce.
Okay. What's the theme of your story? Have you been repressing your passion? Have you experienced lots of ill health and disease? Have you struggled physically, emotionally, financially? Have your relationships failed because you feel like you really want and you're ready to start telling a new story about what you really want and deserve? Okay, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like we've been coaching long enough that we can take any one of those and spin a story off of it.
Okay, so let's talk about, have you struggled physically, emotionally, or financially?
I mean, emotionally more than anything. Sorry, I have no idea why this dog is whining. You're coming with me.
Okay.
He's probably thirsty. Oh, look at that. Look how much better the lighting is, and there's not even a light on in here.
Okay, so you say emotionally.
I'd say it definitely, probably just, you know, when you take like anxiety and probably a little depression into it, that like getting your mind right, like that emotional attachment first is what makes everything else like so much easier.
Yep. Gotcha. For me, I would say, so if I think back to when I started coaching, I would say financially. We were living in Duluth. We bought a house in Duluth because we had a dog. We could not afford a $1,200 a month rent bill. We still had our house in Marquette, and we still had a rental property, and things were financially tight, and it didn't feel good. That is the number one thing that my husband stresses about. So I want that to be gone in my life.
Yeah.
I want that to be gone.
Yeah.
So.
And my financial is just now starting, because when I started coaching, finances weren't an issue. I mean, like having the extra like money to have a dream life was always there, but the actual physical need to pay my bills is now becoming a reality.
Yep. Gotcha. Okay. What are your identification factors? In other words, what challenges and breakthroughs do you want to help your leads, your new team members, focus on and overcome within themselves?
What's the first part of that question? Your challenges?
What are your identification factors?
I think for mine, it's definitely like the anxiety, worry part of it. Like definitely a mental health piece, I would say, is where like I identify with. I can't really identify with people that are lazy. And you know the difference between when someone posts and they're just like straight up lazy, and someone posts and you can tell like they're just like they straight up mentally have like been at their end. If that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely.
A person that's always been obese since they were a child, you know, versus someone who's like, okay, like now like she has a baby, she has baby weight, she hasn't lost, and like you can tell she's coping with other things.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. What identification factors? What are your identification factors? One. For me, it would be new moms. I feel really drawn to, and maybe this is why this has happened in the past couple of days, I feel really drawn to the athletic training world and new moms in general, and taking back the priority of raising your child because you had that child for a reason. So I would say, like, when I see a new mom post, that really draws my attention. And I feel that I can just instantly identify with them. I'm not sure if I'm answering these questions correctly or not.
They're kind of like very vague questions.
That's what I think too. Like, they're almost really hard.
I think a lot of mine also is like, I identify with that person that's always busy. You know, like I literally do identify with that working mom who is like, legit, I have no time. And I'm like, I get it. I literally have no time either. I have to schedule my day. I have to make my workout a priority. I have to make eating right a priority. Yep. And getting them to discover like meal prep. Like take Kristen, for instance, you know, she's like, you know, we're talking and her marriage is struggling because of like all the household duties that they don't like each other, because I'm like, I get it. Same situation in my house. Like there's so much to do and like only so much mom and dad to go around. And like when you feel like you don't want to say, hey, I'm like trying really hard not to point fingers, or I'm trying really hard not to keep score, but like it's black and white, you know, and like how to work around like asking for help versus like demanding help, because you don't get anywhere when you walk in the door and like just immediately lose your shit. Mm-hmm. So I think that like my book club group, like those women, like I identify with, like even if they don't have kids, like they're all kind of like-minded and like, hey, I want a different life. I really do. But like, I don't know where to go. Like, I don't know there. Like, I'm just like overwhelmed with the process of it, but I know that it's possible versus the ones that are like, well, I was born in poverty. Like,
yep.
Eating junky food. Like, I'm fat. Like,
yep.
Sorry.
You hit the nail on the head. Why are you passionate about health and fitness?
I don't think that it was anything I ever would have expected to be passionate about. Literally was the girl that called in sick the day we had to run the mile in gym class and used the, I have my period, like I can't do this card a lot. But I think when I deep down get into my why and see like all of the health issues that my mom had and her obesity, and that all really played into her death. And now that I'm a mom, like my mom died when she was 42, I'm 37. Like to think that I would only have 5 more years left in Axel's life if that same situation happened to me is like, yeah, no, like that's ridiculous. So I think that it really taps into like being affected by obesity on a personal level that literally changed my life. And you know, I mean, we can all like play that adversity card, but if that didn't happen, like when would I have gotten that like shift? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when I like talk about like the day that I mean, and this is going back to my first transformation, but the line in the sand was I was at a family birthday party and they were making macaroni and cheese, and they literally put 2 sticks of butter in a box of Kraft macaroni and cheese. Yeah. And everybody in my family was obese, and like 2 of my 3 cousins had gastric bypass, and you would have never known. And they're like feeding this to kids, and I'm like almost 200 pounds myself, but I'm like, ew, like no freaking wonder why you guys are so fat. Mm-hmm. And I was either in or I was like starting a new semester. I think I was going to my next semester. I had a health class, and it was literally walking. And I think I lost like 25 pounds that semester, literally because of that walking health class. But like the day, like I can remember the day where I was like, yep, this isn't my life anymore. Like was that birthday party and that macaroni and cheese.
Perfect.
That was before food coloring was a big hot topic with Kraft.
Yeah, that's awesome. So why Beachbody?
Because it's what I used before when I had my college transformation, and that was pre like any mental piece of it, you know, pre-coaching, which is crazy, like pre-team Beachbody. But it worked because I followed that nutrition plan. I followed that workout, and I did Weight Watchers as well. And when I compared the two, Weight Watchers taught me how not to eat because it was points-based. And yes, I was being successful, but it literally, like I was finding what foods I could eat the most of for 0 calories. So I was eating things like sugar-free Jell-O and 100-calorie packs, and like everything I was eating was packaged and processed and full of crap. You know, if it was low fat, low cal, like no sugar, like sign me up.
You need to do a post about that tonight. Like no shit, you need to do that post tonight.
I did do that post, but nobody read it.
You need to do it again. You just didn't post it at the right time. That's a damn good post.
that was in my last like clean eating, the one where I'm like this and like clean eating. It was in that post about like if it was 0 calories, like whatever, sign me up.
Yeah.
I can like revamp it.
Do it again. Delete it down and post it again. You just didn't have the timing right on it. Okay. Why are you passionate about health and fitness? I'm passionate about health and fitness because I've always been an athletic girl. I've always loved moving my body, but I knew nothing about nutrition. My mom would pick me up from school so that we could go to my hockey practice, 45 minutes to an hour away, and she would have a bag of McDonald's waiting in the car for me, and that was my dinner. And when I went into college and I thought carbo loading before a game was eating a loaf of bread and drinking a Red Bull. And then I took a nutrition class and I realized I had it all wrong. And then I started coaching and I saw the girls, these young girls that were having body dysmorphia and were not fueling their bodies for competition and were getting pissed at their bodies for not doing what they were asked to do. I knew that nutritional link was not something that I was just missing, but so many others were missing. So when I found the simplicity of the 21-day fix program and the portion containers and stuff like that, it made me realize, like, this is the whole health package right here. Like, people can't afford personal training. I was a personal trainer at the time. People can't afford $55 to $75 an hour multiple times a week. Like, that's just not realistic. Why is it important to me? If you don't have your health, what else do you have? Mm-hmm. And I always get the quote, and you're going to laugh at this, because there's a hearse in town that drives around. And every time I see this hearse, I don't know who the tattoo dude is that drives it, but every time I see this hearse, I think of a country song. You've never seen a hearse with a trailer hitch attached to it. You can't take anything to heaven with you. Mm-hmm. So why are you saving it?
Yep.
Live present. So that kind of strikes a chord with me. So why Beachbody? I used Shakeology 6 months before I got married to help with my IBS. But I didn't know anything about their fitness side of things. And my friend Shanna was posting about it all the time, to the point that it was pissing me off. But pissing me off in a way that I'm like, I need to do this too, and why am I not doing this? Like, that's the life that I want to live. Mm-hmm. Like, in a jealous girl code kind of way. Mm-hmm. And when I realized what their business statement was, helping others to live a healthy, fulfilling life, like, that's perfect alignment with my mission. So
exactly.
Okay, what's your why for becoming a Beachbody coach? We already talked about that. Your why. Did we talk about your why?
I mean, we didn't talk about our why specifically. Like, I think each of us kind of hit on it, but I think, like, it took me a long time to really get a why that made me cry. You know, I kept trying to do the whole, like, oh, I want to be present for my son. Oh, you know, I want to be the one that raises my son. And I'm like, you know what? I actually am pretty okay with being a working mom. I think that it's a great avenue for self-care and for your own self-confidence. And, but once I really started to get real with what losing my mom meant, and especially now that I'm a mother and, like, I kind of would like my mom
yeah.
To be here, and, like, I don't know, it's just like, I think, you know, you just look at so many people in the line at Walmart and they hate life. They are frustrated. They are impatient. They are screaming and yelling at their kids. And then you look at their cart and it's full of processed food, junk, food coloring. And you're like, well, no wonder your child is a hot mess right now. Like, all you are feeding him is sugar and food coloring and occasionally some fat. Like, but this kid is getting no nutrients. And he's probably not sleeping well because of all of this shit. And you're not sleeping well. And, like, you obviously aren't taking care of yourself. When was the last time you, like, curled your hair and put some makeup on? And not that I think that every woman should walk out, like, looking done up. But I think that you get in a funk where you just don't even care anymore. You're so numb to life that you don't even think of yourself as, like, an attractive woman. And from the marriage standpoint, like, you and your husband aren't communicating well. You know, you're not getting time for yourself. You're not going out on dates. So why bother putting that, like, focus and energy into you? Like, who are you impressing? But I think just as a woman, like, we want to feel pretty, you know, and it doesn't have to be makeup, but I can guarantee that, like, a scrunchie and sweatpants doesn't really make anybody feel pretty.
Yep. I think you hit the nail on the head. The pretty can be brought about in many different ways. And I think that's something that I'm struggling with on my Facebook page right now, because I see so many people posting about makeup, and I just want to shake people because they're not addressing the root cause. Makeup is totally okay, and makeup is totally fine to be used in certain situations, but I feel like these MLM companies that are providing it, like they're not hitting the true root cause of the inside issue.
And I think that brings us back to why Beachbody, because we don't look at symptoms. We look at, disease like deep down. And I had this conversation with this lady who was turning in prescription drugs, and it was all over the counter drugs. And she was frustrated about the blister packs and like, oh, if you guys want us to turn these drugs in, you need to make it easier. And I was like, okay, first off, like, this side of things, when you're turning your drugs in here, we want you to bring controlled substances because we're trying to stop the opioid addiction. Like turning your like over-the-counter meds and your blood pressure meds and all of that, I'm like, this is a bigger situation. Stupid lighting.
Yeah.
Because everybody goes to the doctor. Like if you have a headache, what do? Do you take a glass of water and drink it and wait it out? Do you assess when the last time you ate was or what you ate that day? Or do you go and pop some Excedrin, Tylenol, or ibuprofen? I can guarantee you 9.5 out of 10 people will go and pop something over the counter. Like we no longer treat disease with food. We don't take care of our bodies the right way. And we treat all of the symptoms that pop up. And hence, like, now you have all of these over-the-counter prescription meds that you've tried and they failed because you never, ever hit the nail on the head as to why you're sick.
Yep. Nailed it, girlfriend. Nailed it.
This poor lady was just like, will you please just take my sinus medicine?
Yeah. So why Beachbody coaching? My why in Beachbody coaching. It just like you, I struggled with it, and I wanted to to be present with my daughter and everything like that, but it's not forcing me to show up every day. And I was listening to Get Over Your Damn Self today, and chapter 2, all about your why. So it got me thinking. And I would say it's okay for it to be about me, but I want to show myself that I grew up in a pretty low poverty life. My mom used credit cards as her outlet to provide for her family. And I want to prove to myself that I can break that cycle and that I am worth more than $40,000 a year, that I am worth more than that, and that I can do this. I've already proven that I can go to college, and I've already proven that I can get my master's. Now I just need to bring in the other avenue and show myself that I'm worth it. And it's not just David that's worth it, but I am worth it too. Exactly. So I think that's like the phase draft of my why right now.
Yeah. And I think that if you compared like David working for the man and you working for yourself, and you compared mental attitudes, there's a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish that I could have the work ethic of him, because he gets his yearly analysis from his boss, and his boss has to give him 100%. If he can't, David wants to know exactly why he didn't get 100% and what he needs to do to get that next year. Like, that's his work ethic every day. I would love to have that 50% of the time.
No, I would love to have that in my coaching business.
Yeah.
But I still have to tap into why I still let the excuse bus happen.
Yep.
More than I should. And I think that it's like, a lot of it is I literally have, like, I feel like an octopus, and it's my dream. It's not Andy's dream. It's not Axel's dream. And I don't have Andy tapped into that. So I guess it's something I took from my mom too, that like, the self-sacrifice, you know? And I guess like you don't know what you have until you have it. So if you don't have it, it's easy to sacrifice.
Yep.
But that's not like, I don't know, it's frustrating because then I'll say, you know, like if I didn't have Axel, coaching would be easier. But yeah, in some ways it would, but that's not my story. And that's not the story I'm trying to sell. And like, because of Axel, it makes it so much worth it. And like to say, like, you know, like I fought so hard for all of this.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so how has coaching changed your life?
Mine so far hasn't been a financial change.
Nope.
You know, we don't have the dream house. How like I literally got my income statement from Beachbody and I made $660 last year. But it's changed it in the fact that like I am not an anxious worrier anymore. And I can see the bullshit in my excuses. Whether I still give those bullshit excuses or not, I at least can identify when they're happening. My mental attitude has definitely improved with like my outlook of life and like when shit happens, and I can be okay with it in a completely different way. I'm healthier, of course, you know. I don't know the last time I weighed 126 pounds, but I can tell you it was like 2008. And it's not about the weight at this point. You know, I'm at a weight I'm comfortable with. Now it's just like, okay, like now let's do things you've never done before, you know, and let's take things to the next level. But I'm not on anxiety meds anymore. And I feel like it now gives me tools to give to other people. And like, there's not a person in my day that I don't come across where I can't find a way that personal development can change even like their one simple situation. You know?
Absolutely. How has it changed my life? Well, like you, I'm the healthiest I've ever been. Yes, weight-wise, but more than that, nutrition. I didn't know a whole lot about nutrition, which is funny as a personal trainer. You would think that you would, but as a personal trainer and an athletic trainer, you're restricted to being able to prescribe.
Yeah, you're not a dietitian. You're
exactly.
not a doctor.
Exactly.
But I mean, same. Not a doctor. No either.
No. So that component has always been left out of my life. And you can't outwork a bad diet. I tried for 12 years. So it has completely changed the health of my family. We eat a lot of veggies now. Growing up, honestly, I can think maybe 3 times a week we would eat veggies, which is sad, very sad.
Veggie at that, you know. Did you ever have asparagus growing up? No.
No. Corn and peas.
I don't even think I had asparagus until I was like 25 years old or something.
Yeah. Financially, I wouldn't be a stay-at-home mom without this. I would be working for the man, and I would be building his dreams, and I would be spinning my wheels in the same job, although I thought was my dream job. I wouldn't be a happy person. I wouldn't be able to be present with my daughter. I wouldn't be able to have the impromptu day dates with her or my husband. Emotionally, I was a big time stressor. I battled postpartum depression really badly. Like my husband was after me for probably 4 months to go and talk to somebody before I actually did. Anxiety. I still have some anxiety issues sometimes.
I mean, I think it's life.
I think it's motherhood.
Yeah.
It's just, we worry.
But it's like what you do with that. Do you worry, like you kind of lay it all out there and then are like, okay, these are the situations, it's what it is? Or do you lay in bed all night long and you literally can't shut your mind off and you're constantly in fear of what could happen, but never like what might happen, you know, Jonathan James and the What If Monster.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. And shoot, what was I going to say? And I never had a lot of friends growing up. I was that girl that sat between two friends groups so that nobody would notice that I wasn't sitting with anybody. I was that Tom girl that nobody wanted to be around because I wanted to hang out with the boys and I was a good athlete and they allowed me to play with them, like football or soccer or whatever it was, but I couldn't go and sit with them at lunch, and none of the girls liked me because I was hanging out with the boys. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have friends growing up, really. My mom was my friend, I guess you could say, which is really sad. And so this business and me getting out of my comfort zone and talking with more ladies and having a challenge group around me and having a team around me, like, I have more friends now than I've ever had in my life.
Mm-hmm. And they're quality friends.
Exactly. And they understand real life. They understand mom life, and they understand that if it takes you a little bit to get back to your messages, or it takes you a little bit to reach out to them again, it's completely okay. It's completely okay. And there's no judgment there. And if there is judgment, I've got thick enough skin at this point that I move on.
I think at this point, you know, it's like you have ride or die friends, and you are in a position when you are mentally positive and right in your head that you can see through that, and you're like, okay, I don't need you to like be a number in my life, you know, like if you're not there for me, then like, I mean, I have like a best friend that I haven't talked to in over a year because like literally there was no value left in that relationship. And, you know, the phone goes both ways, and it was just like, yeah, not like, I'd rather have one best friend. And I think I've always just had one best friend. I've never been the girl that had like a big group of friends. So I think like as I get older in life and more confident and I have those girl groups and like the girls' nights, it's awesome. To say like, you know, I have several best friends, and, you know, you hear those stories of like, oh, like me and like these two girls have been best friends since we were in like second grade and like we're still best friends. And I'm like, I've never had that, but now I think like it's a more genuine friendship that I form with people.
Yep. I think you hit the nail on the head. So these other questions, I think we've kind of hit. How do you, well, maybe not this one. We kind of talked about our ideal team with, do you feel?
I guess it's like, I need to start like I'm like, okay, I need a team. And like, I miss being a manager, and I've learned so much along the way about how to be and how not to be, and definitely how not to be. Like, got that one down pat. But I think I'm ready for like that group of edgy girls, and like not just like throwing the invite to throw the invite, to just be like, hey, look, like I see untapped potential in you. Like I'm not looking for that girl that's like always been the aggressor, or, you know, it's like once you get that self-confidence and like you give yourself value, I'm looking for like those types of girls that are like, okay, I'm now desperate for this because of what it gave me.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's it. I think I struggle with this sometimes too, getting over the fear of posting about it and inviting. It is the greatest gift that we've got to give. And
yeah,
well, it's hard for some people to swallow sometimes because it's so outside their comfort zone. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to be talking on this topic tomorrow with my diamond call. But
I mean, it's out of our comfort zone, and we're told that MLMs are bad, you know, like.
Well, and we see it on the daily basis, like those that aren't running it correctly. So we get pissed about it, and then we just don't do anything.
Yeah, I literally got a message that was like, hey girl, I don't know if you noticed or not, but like I run these accountability groups and da-da-da-da-da. And I like just emailed back and I said, sweetie, did you look at my Facebook page and see that I'm a coach? And I was like, how long have you been coaching? Who's your upline? And she's like, oh, I started coaching a week ago. I coached before I was pregnant. And I was like, who's your upline?
Clearly they're not teaching you.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, no, good thing I didn't reach out to you. But I was going to say this to you about your coaches. You know, I mean, I've been in this with you for almost 2 years now. And so we've seen a lot of your coaches come and go. And I think now you're to the point where you're like, you know what, like I can be selective. Like just because you say yes to coaching, like, and then you show up and don't do anything, like, I don't want you on my team. So I think that you're being more picky and choosy about who gets to come on your team versus like, that person was like, okay, yeah, I'll do whatever you want. And then they signed up as a coach and then they're like, wait, you want me to like work and like show up? And like my husband's not cool with this.
Yeah. And I changed my perspective big time of you show me you want to work the business. Here are the tools that are out there. You show me that you take action and I will meet you where you take action. Mm-hmm. And I've totally taken that off of my plate. And the 2 coaches that I've signed like that, they are running with this business. Mm-hmm. So let that be a note to yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because worrying and trying to pull them along so that they can help you meet your goals is not worth it. Mm-hmm. Not worth it. So, okay. I think we have nailed it. So I'm going to stop this.
Sweet.